What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got the Gerry Rafferty Classic City to City, brought to us by our friend, longtime patron and supporter of the channel, Trucker Kev. Appreciate you, Kev, and everything you bring to the channel. I've never heard this album. Of course, I've heard Baker Street. I don't think I've ever heard anything else off this album. Let's take a little look at it and at Gerry. So Gerry was born into a working class family in Scotland. His mother taught him both Irish and Scottish folk songs when he was a boy. Later, he was influenced by the music of the Beatles and Bob Dylan, who wasn't at that time, right? He joined the folk pop group The Humble Bums, of which Billy Connolly was also a member, in 1969. After they disbanded in 1971, recorded his first solo album, Can I Have My Money Back? Gerry and Joe Egan formed the group Stealers Wheel in 1972 and produced several hits, most notably, of course, Stuck in the Middle with You, I know that song, and Star. A little bit of the quick facts about this album. This was the next solo album he made. It was his second studio album. It was his first solo release in 6 years and first release of any kind since 1975, so 3 years had passed there. Due to his tenure in the band Stealers Wheel and subsequent legal proceedings which prevented Gerry from releasing any new solo recordings for the next 3 years. I'm not going to get into that whole story, but it is an interesting one. But that brings us to here. So he's got all this bottled up, right? 6 years on solo stuff, 3 years before anything has been able to be put out. All these tracks were written by him. As always, guys, we're not going to have the music in here because it'll get blocked. There's a Vimeo link below. Just click on that. You can listen to this whole thing with me, journey with me on this thing. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Let's kick it off. We're going to start with the Ark. A lot of times I have research on these songs. There's a lot of these songs there was nothing I could find. This is one of them. Like I said, I'm going to have the lyrics up. We'll figure out what this thing's about. Thanks again, Kev. The Ark. What a nice start to this album. You know, the story is basically he's telling this girl, let's go down to the water. Let's find the ship, the Ark. It's going to take us away from here and all our problems. Like the world is dark, but as long as we have each other, because he starts out, see the dark night has come on us. The world is living in his dream, but now we know that we can wake up from this sleep and set out on the journey, find a ship to take us on the way. The time has come to trust that guiding light and leaving all the rest behind. We'll take the road that leads down to the water side and set out on the journey, find a ship to take us on the way. And he just kind of goes on from there. I like the instrumentation on this. I thought that there's a lot of different guitarists on this, but this one in particular, Jerry Donahue, was doing the lead guitar on here. It's the only one on this whole album that he's doing the lead guitar on. Gerry sounded fantastic. He just has that voice, that soothing voice. So really good starter. Now, after talking about that soothing voice, we're going to go to the only track I know in here, Baker Street. And Trey and I actually did a song reaction to this that went over very well. But a lot of the comments, because I'm the one that answers all the comments on YouTube, if you guys watching this doesn't know, it's always me. And Trey answers like 1% of me, handles a bunch of other stuff. But a lot of the comments were how much this song freaks people out or haunts them still. It's a great song, but so maybe you don't find his voice that pleasant on this one. But Baker Street went to 2 in the U.S. for 6 weeks. Got caught behind Andy Gibbs' Shadow Dancing, never went to number 1. Did go to number 1 in Canada, Australia, South Africa, 3 in the UK. Gerry received the Novello Award for Best Song Musically and Lyrically in 1978. Huge honor. The arrangement is known for its saxophone riff. In October of 2010, the song was recognized by BMI for surpassing 5 million performances worldwide. It was named after Baker Street in London. Gerry wrote the song during a period when he was trying to extricate himself from his Stealers Wheel contracts. He was regularly traveling between his family home in Paisley and London, where he often stayed at a friend's flat in, you got it, Baker Street. As Gerry put it, quote, everybody was suing each other, so I spent a lot of time on the overnight train from Glasgow to London for meetings with the lawyers. I knew a guy who lived in a little flat off Baker Street. We'd sit and chat or play guitar there through the night. Privately, Gerry also spent a lot of time drinking, which he noted he mentions in the lyrics. The resolution of the legal and financial frustrations accounted for the exhilaration of the song's last verse that says, when you wake up, it's a new morning, the sun is shining, it's a new morning, you're going home. His daughter Martha said that the book that inspired the song more than any other was Colin Wilson's The Outsider, way back from 1956. Gerry was reading the book, which explores ideas of alienation and creativity, born out of a longing to be connected at this time of traveling between the two cities, right? He was never really home, and so that's always tough. The saxophone riff, right? That's what everybody knows it's for. In addition to the guitar solo, which is fantastic, played by Hugh Barnes, the song features a prominent 8-bar saxophone riff played as a break between verses by Raphael Ravenscroft, great name. Gerry claimed that he wrote the hook with the original intention that it be sung. Raphael, a session musician, was in the studio to record a brief soprano saxophone part and suggested they record the break using the alto saxophone he had in his car. The part led to be what became known as the Baker Street phenomenon, a resurgence in the sales of saxophones and their use in mainstream pop music and television advertising. And guys, remember, this is 1978. Something like this could have that kind of power. Nowadays, no way, right? Because everything's so fragmented, right? What we watch, what we listen to is so fragmented because we got so many choices. But back then, there wasn't all these choices, even in radio stations, right? There wasn't 1,000 radio stations and there wasn't 1,000 channels on TV. So something like this could have the phenomenon of causing a resurgence in the sales of saxophones. That is fantastic, guys. Well, most of you watching this, I'm sure, know this song, or you probably wouldn't have clicked on this album reaction, but let's check it out. Well, obviously, what a song. But, I think the saxophone, obviously, it's iconic, but it almost takes away when people remember the song. They always remember the saxophone, which, yes, but, that Hugh Burns guitar solo that almost closes this out there, that thing is fantastic. And I don't want to diminish that. But really, it's just the whole atmosphere of the song, right? It's not just the saxophone. This song is a perfectly constructed song. And they were smart, right? Because they went back and mixed the saxophone in 3 different places. They were intelligent the way they did that on the mixing, but everything was great. You got Henry Spinetti on the drums, Glenn LaFleur on the percussion, and Graham Prescott on the string arrangements. They're every bit as important, especially in the pre-chorus part. They build this atmosphere up, right? You hear all these interesting sounds. And Gerry himself is great on this. Just a smooth 70s delivery, man, and it all works. The song itself, it's what we talked about. He's winding your way down on Baker Street, light in your head and dead on your feet. Well, another crazy day, you'll drink the night away. So he's talking about, it's autobiographical to some extent, right? And forget about everything. The city desert makes you feel so cold. It's got so many people, but it's got no soul. So he's talking about London at the time, and it's taking you so long to find out you were wrong when you thought it held everything, right? It's not, I guess, the fame and the fortune, probably going through all these lawsuits, he's figuring out, maybe this isn't all that it was cracked up to be. But that pre-chorus where he's saying, you used to think that it was so easy, but you're trying now. Another year and then you'll be happy. Hopefully the lawsuits will be over. Just one more year and then you'll be happy, but you're crying now. And then we go back into the great instrumental. And then he goes and meets a guy, and this guy's got a dream about buying some land. He's going to give up the booze and settle down. But in the other pre-chorus, the second one, but he'll always keep moving. He's never going to stop moving because he's rolling. He's the Rolling Stones. So this guy has great intentions, but he knows that he's never really going to be overcome his vices or demons, whatever you want to call them. But I'm telling you, man, this song all the way around, love the saxophone, but all the way around, it's just a perfect song. Now we're going to move to Right Down the Line. It was the 3rd single, went to 12 in the US, 5 in Canada. I'm wondering if I don't know this, right? 78, I was 7 years old. The radio was on in the car all the time. If it went to 12 in the US, I just wonder, man, we're going to find out. Right Down the Line, a song that he's obviously writing to his lover who stood by him, which at the time he was married to a woman named Carla. Gerry suffered with alcoholism most of his life. And so then when you read these lyrics and listen to it, it means even more. He says, I need your love. You've got that hold over me. As long as I've got your love, you know that I'll never leave. When I wanted to share my life, I had no doubt in my mind, and it's been you, woman, right down the line. So it's funny, like I knew this song and I knew the verses. Like I didn't know the words, but that right down the line. The chorus, I didn't remember at all, and I actually don't like the chorus that much. I like the sound of his voice and the smoothness of the song much more in the verses, which is rare for a song, right? They try to save the punch for the chorus, but in this one, I actually enjoyed the delivery of the verses. Verse 2, I know how much I can lean on you. Only you can see the changes I've been through have left a mark on me. You've been a constant as a northern star. The brightest light that shines has been you, woman, right down the line. So going through those times of alcoholism, if you've ever been with somebody or you yourself have suffered with some sort of substance abuse, you realize the difficulty and the just impossibility that is sometimes, and everything you go through with that. I thought the instrumentation on this song was fantastic as well. It's different than Baker Street. And I said it was the 3rd single. It's actually the 2nd single. It followed up Baker Street. So he went from this massive success to have this song, which sounded, I bet people were like, he's going to be the saxophone guy. And he's not in this, right? But it works every bit as well for me, almost. I mean, Baker Street's one of the most iconic songs ever, but this song's great. You got Tommy Iyer on the organ, which is nice. BJ Cole on the steel, and you still got Hugh Barnes on the guitar, and then the percussion's good. Just a great sound. So I really enjoyed that one. Next up is the title track, City to City. The record label actually wanted to make this the lead single. Gerry fought them hard, got Baker Street as the lead single. They didn't want to release Baker Street. They didn't think it was going to work. It just shows you sometimes record companies don't know anything. City to City, the title track, a much different sound on this. I think Gerry did the right thing. I like this song, but I don't think it's a good thing this wasn't released as the lead single, especially when you got Baker Street and Right Down the Line. This has such a different sound. It almost has a country type sound. It's a partying sound, a much more up tempo. And you got a lot of people. You got tons of people on backing vocals. I mentioned it during the reaction. You got Paul Jones on harmonica. We got a tambourine in here. We got a mandolin, possibly a fiddle, a little steel guitar, a dobro. We got everything going on in this, and just lends to the atmosphere. And basically the idea of the song is, look, he doesn't want to leave, and his girl doesn't want him to leave, but he has no choice, right? She even admits he has no choice. So he goes on that train. He's going from city to city. It's a 400-mile trek. He's looking up at the stars, knowing that she's looking at the same thing, and he knows that he's going to be back home soon. The title of the song doesn't get in till towards the end. Now from city to city, it's 400 miles, and I'm bound to wake up every once in a while. And it's then that I call out to some higher power, and then I'll go back to sleep because I'll be home in an hour. So good night. Good night. Yeah, those nice call and response backing vocals. A really nice song, really different change of pace. But like I said, a very wise decision that they didn't go with this as the lead single. And now we're going to check out the 5th track, Stealin' Time. Stealin' Time, what a tune. And you know, there's a lot going on in this tune that if you just casually listen to it, you're not going to catch. One of the things that's nice is they punch up the end of most of the verse, 4-line verses as you're normally going to get. And that last one, the backing comes in, they punch it up, but then boom, they stop it, right? It goes silent for just a second, but enough to make you go, okay, what's going on? And then they come back in with that subtle instrumentation, and Gerry comes back in and eases you back into another verse. So the production on this is top rate. The instrumentation is top rate, but it's a fantastic put together song because it's 6 minutes long, but it doesn't seem like it because they just kind of draw you in just with the way it's produced and arranged. The song itself, he's been stealing time, man. He kind of checked out. I don't know if he checked out of life, checked out of his relationship, whatever it is. He kind of went off on his own. He starts out stealing time, but I don't feel guilty because the time was mine. So he doesn't feel bad about it. I kept down low. I walked right out. I had to let it go. And then stealing time, forgot about everything and eased my mind. I was stealing time, but now I know it's time to cross that line. So, and then he gets into watching the sky and sun and rain. It felt so good to know that magic again. So the pressures of life, whatever it was, maybe it's a little autobiographical again, being in the music business and being forced out of it for a few years. Maybe he was able to take everything in, but whatever it is, everyone can identify to this, right? Because at times we feel, like we are bound to something or almost a slave to something, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, or our life, because there's so much stuff going on. So he was able to steal some time, but at the end he said, wait my love will soon be brighter than the sun up above. Wait and see, forget about everything except you and me. So he's either going back to her or he's found her for the first time. But a really good song. Well, now we're at the halfway point. There's only 10 songs on this album, but it's a long album. It's 53 minutes long with only 10 songs. This is the shortest song. It's Maddie's Rag. It's going to be followed by the longest song. Let's check this out. Maddie's Rag, and I mentioned during Baker Street, his daughter Martha, that's who Maddie is. Maddie is Martha. So he wrote this for his daughter. Instrumentation-wise, we had an accordion, we had a dobro, we had a different kind of sound here. Not much to this song. It's okay for me. I do like the lyrics, though. This is one where I really like the lyrics. Not that the lyrics were bad on any of the others. I think Gerry's a very underrated songwriter, but he basically is coming home to her. He's been gone. I've been away for quite a while. I want to hear all your news. Speak to me. Let me see your smile because I've had those homesick blues. When I go down to that city, I just don't know wrong from right. And that takes more gravity when you take into account Gerry's struggle with alcoholism. He's away from the house and, he gets pulled in those directions. When I go back to you, Maddie, well, you make me see the light. I just thought that was a great little verse in there. And like I said, the songwriting is really good on this. It's really good on a lot of these. Now we're going to go to the longest song on here, Whatever's Written in Your Heart. Whatever's in Your Heart. What a beautiful song. First off, let's shout out the backing vocalists. They were a huge part of this song. Barbara Dixon and Joanna Carlin. Just a beautiful song. The piano playing is fantastic. It's either Gerry, who's credited with piano on this album, or Tommy Iyer, who plays piano, Fender, Rhodes, synth, Hammond organ, keyboards, the brass arrangements. So it's probably Tommy, but it could be Gerry. But whoever it is, it just lends to this song so well. What a beautiful song. What a great piece of songwriting about a relationship that just is not going to work out, yet he can't let it go. And I mean, that's a lot of us have been in those situations. And, you know, it starts out with the female vocalist just going real slow and night and day. And then Gerry comes in, waking up here on a rainy day. I swore last time I would stay away. I came down here to talk to you. I said this time I might get through. So he's come back even though he said it was over and he'd stay away. But then you get this. I heard her speak, but all the words were dead. We talked all night and left it all unsaid. That is a great line. So we agree to disagree. At least we've got our memory. And then he gets into that beautiful, beautiful chorus. Whatever's written in your heart, that's all that matters. You'll find a way to say it all someday. Yeah, whatever's written in your heart, it's all that matters. Yeah, night and day, night and day. You've got your secrets, yeah, I've got mine. We played this game for a long, long time. You don't lean on anyone, you got no place to run. And it just continues on. Just a beautiful, beautiful song. Man, I like that one. Shows you the diversity of Gerry, because this one dialed it way back. Now we're going to Home and Dry. It was the third single in the US, but it did not have a UK release. It peaked at number 28 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking a third consecutive top 40 hit for him right after Baker Street, which went to number 2, of course, and right down the line. If you remember, that went to 12. This went to 28. Reached number 23 in Canada. Home and Dry, nice little tune there. Not going to be among my favorites, but it's good. It's talking about being in the silver bird in the sky. It's talking about being in an airplane. It's about an hour from being home. He'll be home and dry. Basically, he's telling her she gives him something to live for, right? For a little while, he gave up on her, but she reminded him of who he was. You got to just think, like I said, once again, going back to the struggles that Gerry had, that this might be a little autobiographical here. I got to see you, got to be with you. We'll make it better now in every way. It's got to be you. It's got to be you. Yes, from now on, I'll tell you every day. He gets a little line in there just on occasion. Oh, yes, home and dry. That's how it ends. It's the middle of the song. That's how we get the title of it. But enjoyed it. Once again, the instrumentation was top notch. You had Hugh Burns returning on lead guitar. You had Nigel Jenkins in here on guitar as well. He's only on Baker Street and this song. Some nice backing vocals from Gary Taylor on here. Now we're up to the song Island. Just looking at the musicians, I don't think we're going to have a lot going on here. We got Willie Ray back on the accordion. You got Raphael Ravenscroft back on the sax. So I think we're going to have a lot of things going on. Let's check it out. Even had a steel guitar in there as well. Great instrumentation, setting the mood, right? I think this sets the atmosphere so well of the island scene. And the basic idea of the song is he's with the girl, he's back to the island. I think the verse that sums us up. You know that way back there in that city life, we've been strangers for so long. Now that I feel like I know you again, I want to stay. So, you know, life gets crazy. And, you know, once again, this could be autobiographical. I don't want to read too much into this stuff. But remember, he hadn't put anything out in 3 years and any solo stuff in 6 years. So he's been storing these songs up and these feelings up. So once again, you want to think it's for his wife at the time and everything he's been going through. And you just kind of go apart when you're not around each other all the time. So he says, so long ago, we had a love so warm and bright when we had just begun. That was my last dream. Since then, I've watched the rest crumble one by one. So, wow. And then he says, you know that on my own, I don't make it alone. I need someone who needs me. I only know that wherever you are, I want to be. So great sentiment on here and great atmosphere. Like I said, all that instrumentation, obviously the sax was great again, but all of it was quite nice. Now we're going to go to our final track, Waiting for the Day. Waiting for the Day, some of the best guitar work on the entire album, and that is saying something. You got Hugh Burns back there shredding the guitar, but you also got Andy Fairweather Lowe on the electric on this. Otherwise, he was rhythm guitar the rest of this album, but he was on electric on this. So you had some great stuff going there. Gary Taylor, I haven't mentioned him much, doing a great job on bass on this entire album. It's just hard with the great musicianship on here to stand out, man. The song itself is interesting, right? Because it's got this up-tempo feel about it, but it's really a quite dark song. He says, well, here I am back in town just as the night is coming down, warm wind blowing through the trees. I watch them swing. I watch them sway, lie here waiting for the day. That's how he starts the song. The song ends exactly the same way, so it's up-tempo. Sleep won't come. I need a drink. Stop my head. Don't want to think. Wishing I could be with you, but I know you're so far away. And I'm here waiting for the day. And then it gets really quiet, right? Everything dials back. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on? But these lyrics are dark, man. Water of life, pour your light down on me. Take me out of this darkness, sweet star of the sea. Water so sweet, you can open my eyes. You can bring down the rain on this desert so dry. So, I think he's talking about he's depressed, man. He's down, and that's why he's waiting for the day. Out on the streets, shadows fall, silence speaks, I can hear it all. City of the living dead, count the lights on the roadway, lie here waiting for the day. All right, so wow, man, a much, if you're not listening to the lyrics, you don't pay attention, especially when that song draws in, gets real quiet, you're not going to know how serious it is. Now we're going to come to my favorite tracks. I know these are going to be cliche. You got to go Baker Street. You got to go right down the line. I'm going to go Stealing Time. I'm going to go whatever's written in your heart. There's 10 songs on here. A couple of them I thought were fine. I didn't love. The rest of them I thought were really good to, great with a couple of these. So that brings me to my overall score. Not an album I would have given a spin to just because I would have never thought of it. Obviously, I knew Baker Street, but it just wasn't something that I would have ever thought to spin. So I'm glad Kev brought this to us. I mean, Gerry was quite good, right? I think his voice is fantastic. The musicianship on this album is top notch. And his writing is very good. And I mentioned it during one of the reactions. I think part of that has to do with the fact, obviously, he was a gifted writer, but also he hadn't put anything out in 3 years, hadn't put anything out himself in 6. So he's storing all this up. And usually when you have that with an artist, you have a fantastic songwriting experience. You had the same thing with Springsteen. He didn't do anything from 75 to 78. Same reason, legal issues. So from Born to Run, and then you get Darkness on the Edge of Town, some great lyricism on that, as you would expect from Bruce. But you have a lot of examples of that in music. So I think that's one of the reasons why this album is so well written. But on first listen of this one, I'm going to be a very strong 8.0. Like I said, everything's on point, man. You cannot undersell the musicianship across the line, varied instruments. Every song is just quite well produced. So appreciate it, Kev. Appreciate everybody for watching. If you like to be a patron and support us in any way, check out the link below or in the end screen, just click as it's about to hit now. Thanks, guys.